It started with a used Band-Aid in the dresser drawer. I had just walked into one of my properties in Myrtle Beach, a condo I had renovated, styled with love, and trusted someone else to manage. And the second I opened that drawer, I knew something was off. The rug was rolled up in the closet. My Ralph Lauren pillows were replaced with lumpy Walmart knockoffs. Sand was on the floor, and a used Band-Aid sitting there in the dresser drawer like it belonged. That was the moment I decided I was done paying someone else to mismanage my short-term rental investment. So I built something better. And I'm gonna show you exactly how to do the same thing. Except you don't need to own a single property to do it. Hey friend, I'm Stacey St. John, and over the next few minutes, I'm gonna walk you through the exact roadmap I wish someone had handed me when I started. We're gonna be talking about how to launch a co-hosting business in the smartest, leanest, and most scalable way so you can build real income in short-term rentals without ever having to even buy a single property of your own. But here's the thing I have to say up front, because almost nobody does. There's one mistake I see women make over and over and over again when they start a co-hosting business. And it's the mistake that turns this beautiful freedom-creating opportunity into a second full-time job that owns you instead of paying you. I'll get to it in a minute. Stick with me, because if you skip past it, you're gonna feel it later. Real quick, before we dive in, if you're new around here, I make videos every week for women building short-term rental businesses on their own terms. None of the bro marketing stuff, just real strategy from someone who's actually doing this. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next. Okay, so let's get into it. First, I want to make sure we're on the same page about what co-hosting actually is, because the industry uses the term very loosely, and that's part of the problem. Co-hosting means you operate under another property owner's Airbnb account. You handle some or all of the operations, perhaps guest messaging, turnovers, pricing, reporting, maybe the works. The guest pays the owner, and the owner pays you, usually a percentage of the revenue. You're a strategic partner though, not an employee and not a property manager. That last word matters. Property management is a different animal. Money flows through the property manager. The property manager handles the owner's funds, and depending on your state, that can legally require a real estate or property management license. Co-hosting keeps you leaner, lighter, and in most cases, license-free. That's why if I were starting all over again today, I would absolutely start with co-hosting first. It's faster to launch, it requires almost zero capital, and it gives you a low-risk way to figure out what kind of business you actually want to build. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, is now really the right time to start a business like this? Let me reassure you, it absolutely is. The short-term rental space has more inventory than ever before, which means more property owners than ever are realizing they're in over their head. They bought a cute beach condo or a mountain chalet. They thought they could manage it themselves between soccer practice and their day job. And now they're drowning in guest messages at 11 o'clock at night. They're scrambling to find a backup cleaner and watching their reviews slip. These owners don't need another guy telling them to 10x their portfolio. They need a calm, capable, professional woman who can take this off their plate and actually do it well. And that's where you come in. And here's the kicker. Most co-hosts in the market right now are charging premium fees and giving budget service. So even if you're new, if you show up like a CEO from day one, you will absolutely stand out. Okay, let me deliver on the open loop. Here is the mistake. The biggest mistake I see new co-hosts make is they jump into services before they build a business. A friend slides into their DMs and says, "Hey, can you help me with my Airbnb?" and they say yes before they ever have a contract, before they've ever defined their pricing, before they have any real systems. And 6 months later, they're answering guest messages at midnight, eating into their own profit, covering supplies the owner forgot to reimburse, and feeling resentful of the client they were so excited to land just 6 months ago. Here's the truth. Co-hosting isn't just helping, it's leading. And if you don't show up as the CEO from day one, you'll end up running a glorified hospitality side hustle that pays you peanuts and steals your evenings. So I want you to repeat after me right now. I am not a helper. I am the CEO of my business. Say it again if you have to. Tape it to your bathroom mirror if you have to, because every step from here only works if you embody that first. Which brings me to something else. Build before you offer. Before you take on a single client, you need to make 4 key decisions, and you need to make them on paper, not in your head. What services are you actually offering? Because I help with an Airbnb is not an offer. Are you doing full service co-hosting, or are you specializing in just guest communication or listing optimization or just pricing? Pick a lane. You can always expand later, but it's important you know what you're offering. 2, what's your pricing structure? Will you charge a percentage of revenue, a flat monthly fee, or some hybrid approach? My general rule of thumb, if you are full service, you should be in the 20 to 30% range. Anything lower, and you might be leaving money on the table. And girlfriend, I see this all the time. Women undercharge because they're scared the owner is going to say no. Here's the spoiler alert. The owners who flinch at fair pricing are the exact owners you do not want. Number 3, what's your contract going to look like? You need a contract before you have a client, not after. And we can come back to this. And number 4, who is your ideal client? Not anybody with an Airbnb property. Specifically, what kind of owner, what kind of property, what kind of working relationship? When you're clear on these things, the wrong fit clients filter themselves out. Saying no to the wrong client is how you create space for the right ones. And I want to pause here for just one quick second, because if any part of what I just said made you say, okay, but how do I figure out my pricing, my offer, my ideal client? That's exactly what we work through inside the STR Sisterhood. It's my community of women in the short-term rental business, and we walk through this stuff together every single week. The link is in the description, so come hang out with us. All right, let's get back to it. Step 2, set up your business properly. Even if you're starting with one client, treat this like the real business it is. You'll probably want to form an LLC, open a separate business bank account so your money isn't commingled with your personal life. You need to get liability insurance. That is not optional. It's the cost of being a professional. And depending on your state, you'll need to check your licensing requirements. In some states, even co-hosting in certain configurations may require you to have a special license, especially if you're touching owner funds. Do not skip this step. I see so many women build businesses they have to dismantle later because they don't do their compliance homework up front. Then get your tech stack ready. At a minimum, you'll want a property management system that can sync calendars across platforms. You'll want to get a dynamic pricing tool and an automated messaging platform, and some form of cleaner and inspector coordination. There are literally hundreds of tools out there. Pick the ones that fit your service offering, not the ones that the loudest YouTubers tell you to buy. Step 3, and this is where most women freeze. So I want you to lean in. Find your first client. Here's the honest truth. Your first client almost always comes from your existing network. Not Facebook ads, not cold emailing every owner in your zip code, your network. Here's what works. Make a simple list of every property owner you know personally, friends, neighbors, people from your real estate investing circles, people you've met at meetups. Then send them a clear professional message. Not, hey, do you need some help with your short-term rental? Something specific, like, hey, I'm Stacey. I'm launching a co-hosting business that helps short-term rental owners increase their revenue and protect their investment. I noticed your property has been on the market a while. Would you be open to a 20-minute conversation about what I'm building? No pressure either way. Even if your local market doesn't have anyone in your network, you can scour the OTAs like Airbnb and Vrbo and identify properties that are clearly underperforming. Look for bad photos, low occupancy, mediocre reviews, and then track down the owner through public property records. Reach out with something specific you noticed and one specific way you could help. That positions you as a strategist, not someone begging for work. You're also going to face objections. You'll hear things like, I can manage it myself. I already have someone, or your rates are too high. Have your responses ready in advance. The best one I've ever used is out of genuine curiosity. It goes like this. Hey, I totally get it. I'm curious though, what do you love about how your property is currently being managed? You will learn so much from that one question. Step 4, onboard like a CEO. Once an owner says yes, and they will, please, please, please do not just dive in. The way you onboard sets the tone for your entire working relationship. You'll need a property audit. You'll need photos of every room, every appliance, every entry system, every little nuance about the property. You'll need an information document, access codes, Wi-Fi, vendor contacts, special instructions, and emergency procedures. And you're going to need a listing audit. What's working, what's not, and what's leaving money on the table. And then you need an owner expectations document. This is the one most co-hosts skip, and it's the one that saves the relationship 6 months in. When will you communicate updates? Will it be monthly or quarterly? What does an owner statement look like? What happens if a guest damages something? What's your process for maintenance over a certain dollar threshold? Spell it out, because here's what I've learned the hard way. Owners are not difficult. Unclear expectations are difficult. When the framework is clear, the relationship is easy. If that one hit for you, do me a favor and smash that like button before we move on. It tells YouTube to show this to more women who need to hear it, and it honestly takes a half a second. Thank you. Okay, step 5, build your team before you need it. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Stacey, I just got my first client. I can't afford a team. But hear me out, because this mistake is so easy to make. You don't need to hire a full-time anyone, but you do need to identify, vet, and have a working relationship with at least 3 people from day one. A primary cleaner, a backup cleaner, and a handyman or maintenance person. Those 3 relationships are the difference between a smooth operation and a 5-star review you lost because your only cleaner had the flu on a Saturday. As you grow, you'll absolutely add virtual assistants, inspectors, eventually a portfolio manager, but you don't need to build the whole org chart right now. You just need a bench deep enough that your business doesn't collapse when one person flakes. Okay, I want to be real with you for a second. Everything I just walked you through, the systems, the contracts, the SOPs, the team building, the pricing strategy, it's a lot. And I've learned every bit of it the hard way by sometimes making the wrong choices that nobody warned me about. That's why I built the STR Success Accelerator. It's my coaching and support mastermind for women who are serious about growing, not just starting, but growing a real short-term rental business. We give you the templates, the contracts, the SOPs, the scripts, the proximity to other women doing this at a super high level, and yes, direct access to me. If you're somewhere between I'm ready to launch and I'm ready to scale to 10 properties, the accelerator is where you belong, and the link is in the description. All right, here's the last step. Scale with intention. Most co-hosts hit a wall around 5 or 7 properties because they burn out. Here's why. They've scaled by saying yes to everything. Every owner, every property, every weird custom request from a guest. CEOs scale on purpose. They define their ideal property profile, the type of home, the type of owner, the type of market, and they only add properties that fit. Because every wrong fit property doesn't just consume your time. It consumes the time and energy you'd have spent serving your right fit clients. When you're ready to grow past 2 or 3 properties, you'll need to start documenting your processes on paper, not in your head, or in a Google Doc, or a Notion page, or wherever, but written down somewhere that isn't in your brain. And you don't need to wait for 2 or 3 properties to do that. I would do it at day 1, because the moment you can hand a process to someone else and they can execute it without you, you have a business. Until then, you have a job that pays you in revenue percentages. Listen, I want to leave you with something. I'm not in this industry just to teach women how to make more money. I'm in it because I know what it feels like to build something that ends up owning you, to feel like you're carrying everything alone, and to wonder if the success you're building is actually the life you want. Co-hosting, when you build it right, does not have to be that. You can build a business that supports the life you actually want. And that's the whole point. That's why I do this. That's why I want you in our world. So here's what I want you to do. First, if this video helped you, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. I drop new strategy videos every week and I don't want you to miss one. Then, if you're just starting out and you want to be in a community of women who are building this exact business, come join us inside the STR Sisterhood. It's powerful and it'll change the people you spend time with, which changes everything. And if you're ready to go deeper, if you want the templates, the playbooks, the scripts, the contracts, and the proximity to me and other women scaling real short-term rental businesses, click the link for the STR Success Accelerator. We're not for everyone, and we're not trying to be. We're for the women who's done playing small. All the links are in the description, and I cannot wait to see you on the inside. Now, go boss up. You've got a co-hosting business to build.